Well, here we are. Good evening. Thank you for joining us yet again for Raw and Real. I can't tell you how excited I am to have this amazing human here with me tonight. Johnny's been a dear friend of mine for over 30 years, and I love him to death. And I can't tell you, there's nothing that I wouldn't do for you, Johnny. And that's hand on heart, mate. You know that. For us, life worldwide, the community, as I always said this. I will never ever interview anyone that I don't believe in, that I don't love, that I don't care for. And I know one thing, the people that we will interview on this program are the people that are going to give back. They're going to inspire you, they're going to make you go, to places where you haven't been or you're thinking about going. They'll take you to the next level and tell you their story. So, Johnny and I go back, as I said, over 30 years. I've seen you come, and I've still got your phone number as Panic Pizza.
Yeah.
And, we haven't stopped laughing already when we got in here, but, we're a barrel of laughs. We talk about life in general and lots of things. I wanted to mention also that 2 Sundays ago, we had the Young Guns program up down at Essendon and Johnny. And, you cooked for those kids. You cooked for those kids and you inspired those kids, and they haven't forgotten it. And so many of them now that I didn't know that want to be chefs or want to run restaurants or whatever, want to spend some quality time with you, which we spoke about. And that's incredible. And that's the type of person we've got here. So I'm going to pass it over to Johnny Di Francesco from the Gradi group, 400 Gradi. He's done 1,000,001 things. Johnny, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks. And you know what? Before we start, I want to say thanks for actually having the Young Guns down at the restaurant, because I was listening to, you talking to them and your guest speakers talking, and you could just see the way they, when I walked up there, the first 10 minutes, you saw that sort of, young, and then by the end of it, they were like, wow, this is amazing. So you could see that they were getting a lot out of it. So thanks, I really appreciate it. I actually went home that night and said to my kids, you guys missed out. I want you to do it. We're talking. It was actually a good talking point at the dinner table as well, which was fantastic. So
that's brilliant, Johnny. Well, who's Johnny? That's the question. I mean, the public that know you, that's easy. But for people that don't know you, it's probably, and I'd say this funny, they've tasted you because they taste your food.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to say this. Sorry, Johnny. Sorry. There's one thing, and it's important I say this. Mark from Phuket, an incredible chef. An incredible chef's hat guy. That sort of Michelin star man.
Yeah.
Mark Jones, an incredible bloke, who said, I'm going to reach out, I'm going to watch this program. So there, we've got people from South Africa, we've got people from Canada, America, Lebanon, Turkey, Greece, Italy.
Wow.
It's incredible. And I've got a guy from Israel who's a real dear friend of all of us. And it's just, amazing to hear how they all wanted to listen to what you did, because you're just not a pizza maker. So, who's Johnny?
Well, what language do you want me to speak in? I can speak all of them.
I grew up in Brunswick, so please, mate.
So, most people know me as, the person that runs, 400 Gradi, and, maybe a lot of people sort of got to know me a little bit more about me winning, the world's best pizza and all that sort of stuff, Well, once world's best. So a lot of people, saw that part of me and could see the group grow from, opening in 2008, to date, having 14 restaurants, not only in Australia, but, around the world.
Yes,
and so a lot of people think, overnight success. So, and I talk about the overnight success thing because that's what people think, that most people that have achieved something in their life, it must be an overnight success. But the problem is that nobody actually understands where that person's come from. And maybe I just want to talk a little bit about, my journey in the culinary world, in the business world, and growing up in Brunswick, which, we grew up with, very limited, things, if you want to say that, resources. So, I did the basic stuff. I was a young kid, grew up in Brunswick, got my first job at 12 years old. And, the reason for that was, and, some people know this, some people don't, but, I got my first job in a restaurant to buy myself a pair of Nikes, right? So that's a true story. A lot of people say to me, what inspired you to want to be a chef? And, a pair of Nikes, right? So, but, at the age of, 18, 19, I decided I did want to open up my own restaurant. And that was probably the turning point of me understanding how difficult it is to actually be in business, So at 19, I get into my first business, and got debt like there's no tomorrow, you know, borrowed money, you know, and, you know, I've got, you know, my mum helping me, you know, getting some money, trying to open up this place. And you know, the funny thing is that a lot of people that knew me very close to me actually didn't believe that I would be able to do it. So, you know, they already had this sort of doubt, young guy, 19 years old, doesn't know anything about life at the moment. And, you know, and I can understand it because, you know, I've got a daughter, she's 19 years old, and I look at her and she's amazing, you know, like, you know, I can see her now getting out of her shell, wanting to run, you know, a part of the business, which is great, you know, so, and I love seeing that part of it. It makes me, you know, happy to see that. But, you know, and maybe I encouraged that a little bit more because I was discouraged at 19. I think it doesn't matter what age you are. I think if you've got, you know, the mentality to do something and believing something that you're passionate about and want to do, you can do it. So, you know, 19 years old, I started my first business and I thought I was going to be a millionaire. And I literally, you know, after 10 months, I had to sell the business for not even a quarter of what it cost me to set up. Yeah. Right. So, you know, I was already behind the 8 ball, you can say, at 20 years old. And you know, but in that 10 months, I learned a few things about, you know, hustling and sort of how do you get yourself out of trouble and sort of that, you know, having the drive because you've sort of failed, or in your mind you think you failed, but what's happened really is you've conditioned yourself not to do it ever again. So my next business, literally, I hustled my way into it with no money, and so I got into this business, and so, you know, my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, we decided to open up this restaurant, and we start. You know, the excitement starts again, right? Because, you know, you've gone from one failure, then you get into another, and you think, oh, we've made the mistakes, we're going to do it properly this time.
Johnny, sorry, they weren't failures.
No, they were lessons. They were lessons,
because the person you became later,
yeah,
not later, I mean, you're always an incredible human being. And I'll talk about that, but they were lessons for you.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, having that one, and again, running that for about a year, you know, the confidence built in, you know, sort of, we were doing okay, nothing special, you know, nothing to say, oh, well, that's it, we've you know, hit the jackpot. Yeah. But I get bored very quickly, so I wanted to do something else. And I had a supplier say to me, hey, Johnny, you know, there's a place in Campbellfield, you know, you should go and have a look. You can jig your concept here a little bit and you know, put it there and it can become good. And I thought, okay, nice. So I go to this place and I have a look at this little pizza shop and I'm thinking, what the hell? You know, it's got curtains. There's no one here. What's going on? You know, what's happening? So I've looked through the crack and I find this guy, you know, he's on the bench like that. And I'm thinking, wow, you know. So I knock on the door and he comes out and he says, we closed. And I said, oh, no, I'm here to talk to you about, because I heard you want to sell your business. And he said, oh, yeah, come in. So we get, you know, long story short, we you know, organise a meeting for that night. He comes down to my restaurant. Now, you know, you put on this perception to people because, and that's why a lot of people, you know, you show that you're successful, but really in my own right, I wasn't. You know, I was just starting off really, but I had to show that, hey, look what I've got. I've got a restaurant. We're doing okay, whatever. And I managed to convince this guy to hand over the business for free until 6 months later. And I promised him that I would pay him the money he wanted without negotiating 1 cent. So I had this sort of confidence, but also scare. I was a bit scared. Oh, can I do this? And so we get into this business, and this is a true story. We start renovating, and the guy says, "Hey, I gave you a business. It was a good business. Like, I still want my money in 6 months." Yeah, no problem. You know, and fair enough, because he was there for 30 years. So you know, it was like it was sort of part of his life, or it was part of his life. So anyway, we turned this business around. We 10 times the turnover. After the first month of being there, and we ended up paying him, you know, his money, and you know, everyone was happy, and we all went our own separate ways, and we expanded from there. You know, and at 23, I had seven businesses, and let me tell you, out of the 7, 6.5 were doing okay. Right. You know, because again, that perception, people think, you know, a lot of businesses and, you know, should be doing okay, but it's not, because, you know, I always talk, when I talk to people about having multiples, it takes 1 to damage, you know, 3. You know, you need 3 good businesses to cover 1 really bad business, and that's where a lot of people. I always discourage people to expand if they're not 100% certain about what they're doing with one business. And, you know, I learned the hard way. I learned after, you know, running those businesses for 7 years, and literally, you know, I would go home and, you know, my first daughter was born, and, you know, I'm there sitting there with my wife thinking, oh, how are we going to do this? I've got no money. You know, we're there scraping money, putting money together to buy milk.
Yep.
I was bringing food from the restaurant back home so we could eat. So it wasn't that easy, you know, and it took 7 years in that business for me to understand what it took to actually run a business. Didn't matter how good I made a pizza. Didn't matter how good I was at, you know, putting a product together.
Yes.
I learned, my schooling was from 19, I tell people, to 30. So it's 11 years of my own school, my own way of learning and adapting to things that weren't always rosy, right? And I think that's what's made the business that I have today, you know, where it is. You know, it's because I learned from the mistakes. I understood what not to do ever again. You know, I always say to people, if you repeat something more than once, then it becomes a sign of madness, man. You shouldn't repeat something more than once. If you can make one mistake, make it second time, maybe the third time, but then after that, if you haven't learned from it, then you're just a creature of habit that you're never going to learn from it, you know. And everyone makes mistakes, and as long as you learn from it and move on and don't make those mistakes anymore, then it's fine, you know. They're sort of, that's your schooling, I tell people. So, you know, Gradi started at I was 30 years old.
Can I do something? I know you're going to go to Gradi. Yeah. Gradi's forget it. I mean, that's the knockout blow, right? So and he did say I say put the mouth guard in. You said put the ball protector in. You did say that on camera. So, and I was doing this. So people were trying to work out what was this, and I couldn't tell that story. Nobody knew what it was because you just jumped in and said what you said. And I think this is important because I've got it here, the story. I'm not going to let you get away with it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I never said I don't want to contaminate the story, but please, you know what that means. And I think, Johnny, this is so inspirational for someone that could have easily curled up and said, well, now I've got this problem, I'm going. And close the shop. So please share that story because I think it's very important.
Look, I don't know, a lot of people probably remember the gas crisis, right? So
cold showers.
Yeah, exactly, right. Gas crisis hit in. You know, I had most of my equipment was running on gas back then, and we didn't know what to do. If I closed the restaurant down, we were literally going to go broke because we were living, you know, day by day. So I had to diversify. I had to work out how am I going to keep this place open. And true story, you know, Malaysia.
Yes.
So I run down to that restaurant, and you know, Jamal, never forget. I never forget him because he helped me out. I went in there and I said, "Hey, I'm from up the road. You wouldn't happen to have an electric oven laying around?" And you know, he saw an opportunity, and good on him. He saw me. He said, took me at the back and he said, "I got one here. You want it? It's this much." I said, "I'll take it." It wasn't cheap. It was super cheap. Nah, right? So anyway, I take this oven, we put it on top, get it all connected, and we start running. And you know, we're trying to do our best. We're actually cold calling all our customers. Back then, we didn't have any computers, right? Yeah. So when we were doing our deliveries, we were data collecting without realizing that we were data collecting, right? So we were collecting all this data, pen and paper. Yep. You know, we'll give him VIP numbers out, and we would go to the page. It was 745, and we'd go to page, you know, 64 and 745. Yeah, no worries, we'll see you then, you know. Brilliant. And so what we did was we got on the phone and we called every single customer, telling them, listen, we're still trading. You know, we've got an electric oven. Please come down, you know, and support us. And a lot of people did. And I never forget, it was a Friday night, and it was packed. You know, it was probably one of the busiest nights we had. Yes. People everywhere, we're running around, and I'm there in that section by myself, and I'm making all these pizzas and putting them in the oven and turning around, and it was one of those old spring door ovens. So, you know, I don't think this oven ever saw anyone open it and close it that many times. And so what happened during doing this, I turn around and I never forget, I've got 3 pizzas, and I've turned around. As I've turned around, the spring on the door pops, and the oven door falls on my arm. Now, when I mean it fell on my arm, it actually took all the skin off, all the way down to nearly, you could see my muscle, right? And if I show you the scar, you'll freak out. It's still there, right? And there was customers looking at me because, you know, I was open kitchen, and they're watching me and they're going, "Oh, are you all right?" And I've literally got the sauce spoon, and I've got the sauce, and I'm throwing it on my arm going, I'm fine. So I've got my arm is now full of sauce, and I just kept working. Kept working all the way until I think it was like nearly midnight. drove myself down, or with my wife, drove down to the Royal Melbournes. And when I went to triage, and the lady says, "Oh, what's wrong?" I said, "Oh, I burnt my arm." And she says, "Oh, you're going to need stitches. There's a 5-hour wait." I looked at it and I went, 5-hour wait, okay. And if I don't get stitches, well, she said, it might take a long time to heal. I said, yeah, I don't have 5 hours, see you later. Yeah. I didn't even sleep 5 hours. When I was running that restaurant, a lot of people don't know, but I was getting up at 6 a.m. I was working for Burson's Auto Parts.
Correct.
And I was doing deliveries during the day, and then I was down at the restaurant at 3 o'clock, and I was working till 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we would go home. By the time you got to sleep, it was 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so for me, the 5 hours, I had to be at work in 4 hours. So I just went back home and I let it heal by myself. But that's the story about
It's an incredible story, because you could have killed up. You could have stopped work.
Yeah.
You could have said, we're shut or burnt my arm, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But that's grit, Johnny.
Yeah.
Not many have that internally. And you're either born with it, or you create it as time goes on. And you create that by the hurt, the lessons, the not giving up. You've got to feed your little girl. You've got to pay the rent. You've got to stay alive. I'm not going to go broke. Yeah. I'm burnt. And I'm not going to burn everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but of course, Gradi. I mean, Jesus, congratulations.
No,
I mean, that is just... And I want to say this, Johnny. I want to do one plug. I'll never forget, that's where I had the prosciutto and the rock melon. We did it.
You were my first function.
We were your first function.
It was first customers,
First
actually.
customers.
Yeah,
we couldn't fit everyone in, but we made them fit. It didn't matter.
Yeah, it was 48 seats. You had about 700 people in it.
Yeah. Oh, the ethnics, we're doing a cousin and a cousin. So, that was incredible. And that I knew from when we tasted that food, this was something different. This was something different. And you were so proud. So we had Johnny, we've got Johnny, then we've got Gradi, so please.
Yeah. So, Gradi 2008.
2008.
Yeah, 2008. And my dad had only just passed away about a year before.
Correct.
And I was a bit, emotional about it. And I thought, what am I going to do? I didn't really want to do what I was doing at the time, which we had the panic pizzas. We were running that. So we got out of that, that was a business that sort of, put us into a bit of financial problems. So I thought, let's move on. Let's see what else we can do. And I said to Maria, look, what do you think? Should we open up a restaurant? And she was very supportive. She's always been so supportive. So she said, yeah, look, if that's what you want to do. And I was like, look, that's what I want to do. So we got into building the concept and all this sort of stuff. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about my craft. Like, I didn't want to just go in and do what I was already doing. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. And, my dad being from, Napoli or the Campania region, I thought, I want to learn more about this pizza, where it comes from. Why is it so special? So did my research, flew over to Italy, learned the craft, made some very good friends that I still have today, amazing people in Naples. People normally say don't go to Naples because it's dangerous. It's actually not true. It's very, very safe, and people are amazing. It's only dangerous if you go there and act like a tourist. I tell people, right? So did that, did my schooling, come back to Melbourne and, change my whole way of thinking behind this simple product called pizza, right? Because people think it's simple, but it's not. So I operate. 12 months in, I'm thinking, what have I done? This is the worst mistake of my life. Yeah. People don't get the product. People didn't want to eat it. I got one of the worst reviews ever by, really well-known journalist back then. Yeah. And that was the turning point. So that bad review was actually the turning point. Maria brought the paper in the morning and I was excited because I knew that they'd come and reviewed us because they called. Yes. And I've turned to the page and I've looked at it and I looked at it and I said, we're dead. That's it. We're going to close our doors. And funny enough, it actually turned everything around because people that actually saw the photo of the pizza, a lot of people that had traveled to Italy were actually calling up saying, do you really make Neapolitan pizza? Because we just got back from Italy and we'd love to come and try. So that bad review was actually a very positive thing for our business because it exposed us to people that didn't know we were, there and didn't know that we were actually making this style of product. Yeah. So that's where the ball started to roll. And, then further on from there, I got the opportunity to go into Crown, right? And it was an amazing opportunity. I remember actually calling you, right? Yes. I actually called you and I said, look, Harry, what do you think? I've had this opportunity, amazing man, asked me to go in there and I thought, do I do this? Is this a step I want to take? Am I good enough to do it? Because you start doubting, right? You start thinking, okay, really good at what I'm doing now, but is this next part of my journey too big for my, my experience.
Yeah.
And I remember calling you, and you said to me, "I'm going to give you a number to this guy. Give him a call." And I did. I called, had him from Atlantic, and mate, he was so good to me on the phone. Like he just laid it out on the table the way it was. And out of everybody I asked, he was the only person that actually said to me, "No, you should do it. Like you really must do it." And that's how that took off. But it's amazing because during that interim, like we opened 2014 late, I think it was like November or early December. But in April 2014, that's when I flew over to Italy and I decided to compete. It was my third time competing in the world. So first time I competed, I ranked 8th on the scale. I thought, okay, that's good. And then I went to America, competed there, 2014 in March, and I got 3rd. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. So from there, and this is a true story, and this is what I say to people, about dedication. I flew from the States back to Australia for one day because I'd committed to a class that I was taking. So I flew to Melbourne, went home, had a shower, got to my restaurant, did this class, right? Finished my class, went back home, had a shower, went back to the airport, and flew out to Italy again. So I get to Italy and I compete in the world titles, and I end up winning. That was an amazing, not only for myself, because people say, "Oh, you won the world championship. How's it feel?" It felt amazing because all these years of really trying to achieve something that you really believe in, and you get rewarded for it or an award for it. It's a personal feeling of oh my God, my whole life I've dedicated myself from 12 years old to now to this simple product that people think, and now I've been recognized for it. That was an amazing achievement. But second, the biggest satisfaction for me was that Australia got known for pizza overnight. It was worldwide. They couldn't believe it. Networks all over the world were saying, "How is this possible? A guy from Australia has done this in Italy." And for me, that was even more. I was more proud. I was actually very proud that I'm Australian, that I was born here. It was amazing.
Congratulations. I mean, that.
Thanks.
I had it here. You've answered every question.
Yeah, sorry.
So we're just about to wrap up.
See you later, guys. See ya.
Pete, we're wrapping up. I was talking about those achievements. I mean, that's an award. That's an achievement. That is so much. And it warms my heart to hear you say that you were a proud Australian going there, because
100%. Yeah.
Some people forget where we come from, and we do come from here. Yeah, our bloods are European and whatever, right? But it's really nice to hear you say that, because you did put pizza on the map. I've got a property in the country, and I had some people sitting next to me saying, and my wife was there, and saying, "Oh, you got to go. It's the best pizza in the world." I didn't even have to think, and I leaned over, and my wife goes, "Oh no," and I said, "You talk about Gradi?" She goes, "Yeah, tell them." So I'm telling these people, and they're like, "Are you serious? The world's best pizza? Where's this bloke? It's in the country." So people talk about you everywhere and anywhere, because you achieved it. So then obviously Gradi is born. We've talked about that, and then you start to do this crazy expansion. Then you gave me another phone call, which I fell on the floor when you rang me to talk to me about this expansion overseas.
Yes, correct.
Please share that, because act local, go global, right? And all this act local, think global. All this, you hear these phrases, but there's not many that actually, go home, have a shower, and get back on the plane and go and do this stuff, right? Yeah. Because you've still got an empire here. You're building a business here. You're really growing this brand. You've got a family here, and you've got to quickly duck overseas with this crazy idea that someone said to you it could work. Yeah,
that's right.
So what happened?
Look, I was very fortunate. I had a very good friend of mine that, in true story, we were having dinner one night. Actually, we were about to cook some fish that he had caught himself, right? And he said to me, "Look, I got this opportunity. What do you think?" And I said to him, "Well, what's the opportunity?" And he explained it to me. And he goes, "Look, I got an email. I'm not sure if I need to accept it or not." And I said, I said, "Show me." And he said, "Here, have a read, because I need to go and turn the fish. I promise it's a true story."
The fish.
I said, "No." So I've got the phone in my hand, and I thought, and I've read the email, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is an opportunity. He can't let this go." So what I did was I actually answered the email for him and said, I accept the job. And so he sat down and I said, "Mate, you just accepted the job." And he was like, "What?" I said, you've got it. You can't let this go. This is amazing." And he was like, blown away. And I was so happy for him, because he's such an amazing person. And he was right for the role. I already knew he would take it to another level. And while he was with that company, he like excelled. He was amazing. But it was funny enough, although he was a friend of mine, he loved the brand. He loved Gradi so much. Like for him, he said, look, he said, I've been in food all my life and I know what you're doing is so great. I think this can be expanded overseas. And I said to him, you know, hopefully one day we can expand to the Middle East as well, because that's where he went. And you know, he approached me one day and he said, look, you know, friend hat off. You know, this is business now. How serious would you be to bring your brand overseas? And I said, when do we start? Right? and so it all sort of fell in place there. And so we expanded over into the Middle East. And from there, another opportunity arose that led us into expanding into the United States.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
So, you know, you know, most people that know me, they know that I never have a no at first. I'm always, yep, let's do it. And let's work it out later. Like, that's just how I've been. And, you know, not everything works. I mean, you say yes to a lot of things, and sometimes you think, why did I say yes to this? But saying yes to a lot of the things has always equated to something coming out positive as well. So I never, like, you know, we look at the situation now, it's really bad, but you know what, I've always thought on the positive. So what can we do to better our business right now in this time? Let's utilize it. Let's utilize this downtime rather than wasting this downtime, putting our head in the sand, you know? So I think, you know, whatever we do in business, as long as you're doing it with the right intention, if it doesn't work out, well, you know what, it's not, all you've done is lost a bit of valuable time, but also in that time you've learned something new.
Absolutely. So, but I just want to, so, because you're a very good media manager. He's good, isn't he? Gradi's gone.
By the way, Pete makes a good coffee.
He makes a great coffee, Peter. Not only soccer balls, but great everything. So you've got Gradi here in Australia. So where are you in Australia?
So we're Melbourne. Adelaide. We're on Pinot Cruises.
You're on Pinot Cruises.
We're in New Zealand.
You're in New Zealand, yes. So I had a bloody thing at the airport there.
Yeah, that's right.
You do events?
A lot of events. You know, we've got Australian Open, we do Grand Prix, we do, you know, the races. You know, we love doing the events because, I mean, for me, that's like we're part of Melbourne and I want to be part of those events.
Fantastic.
You know, it's a Melbourne-born brand and, you know, I'm proud of that. And I'm proud that I take it around to every event that we do because people recognise it, and you know we want to just bring the love there. That's what it is.
So then you're into the Middle East. You're in the US.
Where else are we going to?
Well, we're cooking. Whilst we're talking international and etc., at Crown you host an enormous amount of celebrities.
Yep.
And I've you know, I'm lucky enough to spend some quality time with one of those. That I took that beautiful photo for you. So
who's taking the photos tonight?
Who's taking the photos tonight? Yeah.
Right.
So there's no secret. You know? I mean, Arnold loves Gradi, loves your restaurant, loves the food, loves the simplicity of it, and loves you as a human. He couldn't believe that you owned it. You're the man, and you were so down to earth. And so, for one of the greatest Hollywood superstars to love your product speaks volumes. But to talk about you as a human, and everybody says that about you, Johnny. There's no arrogance about you. You always stop and say hello. You're always positive. You're always giving some good advice. You take time to take the call, even if you're busy, whatever, and you put the uniform on, you put the right gear on, you're in there helping people and doing things. And that's what makes you incredible, you know. And I think that's a great lesson for the viewers and the people listening in, that don't forget to stay hands-on as well, you know, be part of it, because you did the good media stuff there, but of course, I've had a couple of questions early this morning from some really fantastic people that follow you. You wouldn't know this. And they wanted to ask, of course, and they didn't want to, but they were like, but if you don't share it with us, and the question was, and you actually mentioned that, and that is about the coronavirus, right? Now, it's affected everyone. It's affecting everyone.
It affects, there's no chain, there's no person that has not been affected. Even if you have a business that is you know, excelling in this period, you're still affected in a certain way, and that might be personally, that might be mentally. Everyone's been affected, right? There's no one that hasn't. You know, people say, "Oh, the coronavirus didn't do it." No, it has. It's really hurt. Kids have been affected. You know, everyone's been affected. But your question is,
Well, you overnight on that night, I mean, you and I, in fact, were having a cup of coffee and a laugh. We were talking about, we were going to roll out a leadership program, remember?
Yeah.
And then you had just come back from the Grand Prix. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
And it was a Friday or a Thursday, I can't remember. It was something like that. And I had just got back from Vietnam, and we got chit-chatting, and you said to me, what do you reckon? What do you think's going to happen? And I think we were both saying, it can't go. I don't think it's going to go ahead, surely. This can't be good, this bloody thing, Because then Italy was
and
your Rello's there. And
so my son's there, and it's close contact with him. So we're sort of getting the backstory from him on how it was being shut down, and we couldn't believe it. I mean, if my son wasn't in Italy, I wouldn't. I would have seen the propaganda, and I would have thought, this is it's news.
Fake news. Yeah.
Bit of that. What does Trump say? It's fake news,
Fake
right?
news,
Everything's fake news. So but hearing it from my son, it was like, this doesn't sound good. Like, this is something that's really going to come across the whole world.
Yes. So what did you do, Johnny? Obviously, everyone stopped trade, boom.
Yeah, look, I think it was 2 days before they announced to stop, like the restrictions came in. I was laying in bed. It was like, I don't know, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was just going through my head, what am I going to do? How am I going to, sort of diversify right now? And I started thinking about what I was hearing on the media, essential services. That's all that went through my mind, because I was thinking, we're not essential at the moment. There's more essential than restaurants or takeaways and stuff like that. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I went, I'm going to open a supermarket up. And I thought, how am I going to do that? And so I get up in the morning and I speak to Maria and I said, we're going to open a supermarket. She goes, that's a great idea, let's go. And that gave me the confidence. Yeah. As soon as I heard that, I went, we're going to do this. And so literally I band together a couple of friends, a couple of really good friends, a couple of suppliers. Yes. Shout out to Ricardo and Massimo, because I have to say, they were amazing. They really jumped on board with me and said, whatever you need, we're going to help. We're all in this together. And so we literally found this place on Lygon Street, and it was messy. We sat there, we cleaned it all up, and we started putting all this stuff together. And within 48 hours, literally by Friday morning, so it was actually not even, it was like 24 hours. So Thursday we got into the factory. Friday morning, 9 a.m., we've opened up a supermarket.
Wow, yes.
And we've kept trading. I mean, we're still trading now, and people are loving it. We're actually getting a lot of response from people saying, please don't close it, because we're really enjoying this. Yeah. And you know what? It's kept a lot of my staff still on board. Obviously we couldn't keep everybody because we employ so many people, but we've tried to keep as many that not even on JobKeeper.
They can't.
Because at the end of the day, you try and sort of pull as many strings as you can to keep as many people as you can on, and that's what we did, and that premises that we just did has actually helped us do that. So it's been a lifesaver, and even for us financially, it's been a lifesaver that we're still trying to pay bills and cash flow and stuff. Yes. People say, you should be fine. It's not. We're not fine. When I always say to people, you get into the nitty gritty of what the percentages are in profit when it comes into a restaurant. They're 3 to 5%. Yeah. But, people think that you're making 20-30% on margins. It's not.
But Johnny, the difference with you and maybe others are, right? But I'll say this to you. You're a quality person. So the product that you serve up, the food that you purchase, the suppliers, I know them. I know most of your suppliers, and they're quality suppliers.
Yeah, I've got... Well, that's one thing that we've never done. Year on year, I get my CFO saying to me, Johnny, that product's costing us more money. I don't care. It's because it's a better product. So this is the now product. We need this product. I found this product. And, a lot of people, what happens is when they expand, a lot of people think that, you're expanding. So, what's the saying, you're buying more products, so you're trying to buy cheaper, so that you can make more margins. We've been in reverse. I'm always looking at a better product, and even if it affects the margin, well, you know what? Bad luck. That economy of scale thing. That's what people think. Economy of scale. You must be buying bulk and you're getting cheaper, but we don't. And that's people forget, Harry. We're just a family business. We literally my wife and I don't have hundreds of investors behind me and stuff like that. So it's a tough gig.
Yeah. But it's a tough gig, and it's a great way to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Right? Because We've been good. We haven't laughed. We've been good. And Peter's doing security there, and we've got Caroline here behind the scenes. Your energy and your motivation, Johnny. You know, people will be saying, geez, they're long shifts. Chefs do it tough. There's this conversation that's come up recently that I read again because I was talking about Anthony Bourdain and many others, chefs who, and I don't like using this word, but I'm trying to word it the best I can, that take their lives and they're injured. Somewhere along the journey they're injured and or whether it's drugs, they're lonely, alcoholism, late nights, you need to get back up, as you said, in the morning, you can't afford, you've got no time to stitch your arm and all this sort of stuff. So how does Johnny put himself back together again every day and create the energy and motivation to do it all again the next day, you know?
Yeah. Look, you know, I'm not saying that I've never had down days because everyone has, right? Yeah. So we all have, you know, the day where we get up and we think, my God, you know, why am I doing this? Or this is getting tough or whatever. But I think, and this, I'll tell you how I look at it, right?
Cool.
I've got 3 kids.
Yep.
Right? And the world's getting tough. And if I look at it, they're my driving force. I look at them and I say, if I'm not going to do something a little bit more than what I should in my lifetime to try and help their generation and then their kids, and then hopefully they see what I'm doing and see what, you know, my wife and I are doing together, that they take upon that and say to themselves, well, I get it, you know, I get why they did it. Like, you know, we're looking at kids that are from 13 to 19 years old. I don't expect them to ever understand everything that I do, but my motivation comes from them, and maybe they've never understood that. Yeah. So I always believe that 2 things can motivate people in life, right? Family that push you or want or have that driving force, or debt.
Yeah.
Right? Debt is good. People think that debt's not good for you. Debt is good for you because guess what? That is a massive driving force, man.
Absolutely.
Because when the bank comes knocking on the door and they say, listen, mate, we're selling your house, I don't, you know, I hope I never get to that point. And so the motivation is driven by these 2 things. But the ultimate motivation is I don't want to leave this earth not having left a mark upon what I do in my little world, my industry. So people within generations from now, when they look things up now, because we have the technology, they can see who did really well within their field, regardless what you do. I don't care if you're a street sweeper. If you're good at what you do and you leave a mark upon someone or leave something, that's a motivation for me. Yeah. You know, you want to leave a legacy behind. And, you know, how do you do that? You need to work hard.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, well, what's a normal day for Johnny? I mean, do you get up and, I mean, we had this conversation, this is not normal behaviour, what you said to me. I knew you did some stupid things, but this one, people will say it's normal, but I thought it was crazy. You go for the run, then jump in the water, the swimming thing. Come on, man.
You know, I haven't done that for a while, but
there's no water in Brunswick. I don't know how you come up with this beach thing now, early. Brunswick bars, we weren't allowed in there.
Brunswick bars was the best.
But you love swimming.
I do. I love swimming. I mean, I used to, you know, I said, when I was telling you the story, YMCA in Coburg, right? You know, I was at this pool, I was training and I was doing a couple of laps first. And after, you know, maybe about 2 months or so that I was going there every morning and doing these laps, I told you the story. I was sitting in a spa and there was this old guy there because I'd swim, I'd spa, and then I'd sauna, then, you know, shower and go back to work. And I was sitting there and this guy is looking at me and I'm thinking, what's this guy looking at me? You know, like, you know, I'm a pretty quiet guy, I keep to myself. And he says, good job this morning. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh yeah, thanks mate. He goes, you did 30 laps. I'm thinking, why is this guy counting my laps? And he said, I remember when you first came here, you did 3. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he says, oh, please don't feel strange. He said, I've been coming here for 40 years. Like, and I said, oh, cool. And he said, how old do you think I am? And I said, oh, I'm 65. And he said, I'm 90. I was like, what?
It's unbelievable.
And so he was saying to me that he was going to that pool and swimming every day or walking now. And it's kept him young. So that's why I love water.
Oh,
but, you know, to be honest with you, it's been months that I haven't done it because
because it's cold now.
Well, no, because
Doing the tricks.
it's not true. Because when it was actually jumping in the water when it was cold. Funny enough, so I would get up, run, do 11 Ks, and then go into the beach and swim out. And I tell you, the only time that I've ever felt really calm and like a sense of serenity was when I was in the water. I was, looking back at the water, and it's 6:30 in the morning, and the sharks are there, right? And you get used to being around sharks, right? Because when you're in business, so those sharks don't scare me, right? So we're there, and I'm thinking this is the best time of my life, and then you get out and you freeze and you run as fast as you can, right?
So do you train every day, Johnny? Are you active every day?
Look, to be honest with you, I don't. I don't train every day. I haven't trained for a while now. I think since the first lockdown, because my mind's been so busy and stuff. And it's not an excuse because, I look at my son, right? That kid, man, he gets up every day. He's running every day, training every day. He's a machine.
Yes.
And you'd think that I would be motivated by that. And like I say, mate, that's fantastic what you're doing. But I haven't found my motivation to go back to doing that because I've got so many other priorities right now. And I want to keep my mind really focused on what's happening right now, because I know where I'm trying to get to for the next, let's say 6 months, right? So I've got my 6-month plan, and I want to make sure that I can achieve that. But that doesn't make an excuse that I don't get up. The problem is that I'm not going to sleep early now. So I'm up, as early as I can, but I'm going to sleep really late. I'm talking 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So, something's got to give. You can't do everything.
Yeah. Well, you got to find the balance because it's important. I mean, your health is ultimately your wealth.
Definitely.
All right. So we've had these conversations and we've had a laugh. And Tony Doherty, we'll give you a plug here, mate, because we've had a good laugh in the gym several times when you've walked in and walked out.
Yes.
And that's okay. You've made an appearance.
Yeah.
As we call it. It's
good coffee at Doherty's. I had a coffee and run out.
Well, some will call it bail, so they just swipe in, swipe out. But Johnny, you can have, these are the sayings, right? You hear this all the time. A good player won't make a good coach. A good chef doesn't mean he can run a restaurant.
Yeah.
So how does Johnny be the chef, the businessman, the family man, the expansion man, and the go-to for the pizza? Because now, you got a target. You're the world's best pizza maker in Australia. Yeah. I witnessed you on a program with a mentor with a young kid there that we all know. Yeah. He's having a go and the Rockies and all this sort of stuff, and you gave him some sound advice and you're always giving back. So the real question here that I've had from several people was, how does Johnny be the chef and run the business? How do you keep going? How do you balance the two? What's the secret, So, look, I think a lot of people fail in, and when we talk about hospitality is because they think, let's say a really good chef believes that that's all you need to know how to do. But that's not the case. And then a really good businessman thinks that they can open up a restaurant and employ a really good chef, and that's the case, but that doesn't actually happen. I think in hospitality, because it's an unregulated industry, really you can open up a restaurant tomorrow. You got money. People ask me all the time, how hard is it to open a restaurant? Very easy. You got the money, pay the builder, you open a restaurant. Beautiful. But now run it. Run it, because running it is really difficult. And I think those 11 years, remember when, go back to 19 to 30, that was my apprenticeship in running a business. So I really understood how to put systems together while I was doing that, because, I was running 7 outlets, and, I had to trust people. I had to put measures in place on how to trust them, and not all of them worked and all this sort of stuff, but I learned along the way. So running a successful restaurant, right, you need to understand how to run a business first. But if you're not, let's say you're not a chef and you're an investor, you're now putting your trust into somebody that you have no control over. I might have a little bit of an advantage there because I know how to cook and I know what I want, but I also know how to run the business and I know what I want. So I sort of wear 2 hats. You saw when I opened up the market, I put my shirt on. I went there and I was working. Absolutely.
There was the business side of it was a no-brainer. Now I had to get back in on tools, and I can do that. And I think whatever business you get into, you need to understand from A to Z. You can't just understand one part of it and rely on everything else. You can bring in people to help you, and bring in people that are even better than you. I always try and employ people that are better than me.
Of course.
I'm not an expert at everything,
Yes.
but I know what I want. So you need to know how to guide those people.
Because you always got new menus going. I've walked in occasionally when you've got it. It's fantastic because you get a free feed. You say, taste this, flick that, taste that, and you always seem to impress. There's never been a bad dish. You know?
And you know what? That's not all because of my credit. Most of that is because of my staff.
Right.
You know, I do engage them and I say, well, let's put some ideas together. What do you think? The people that have been with me for the longest time are the ones that I ask the question because they know what I want. So there's no point in asking someone that just, come off the street, hey, what do you think we should do? Well, they don't know the business. Until they do, then I can put my trust into them to ask them these questions. But the people that have been with me for a long time, they're the ones that I really turn to. They're the ones that I ask for, a bit of help and guidance and support and etc. Because they're like part of the brand. They make up the brand.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So here we are. We've got a heap of stuff happening. Whilst I'm there, I'm just mindful of time. We've got the security guards. The questions, just if you want to look and then let us.
We're okay at the moment.
Okay, good.
Lots of comments.
Excuse me.
I know they can't hear me, so lots of comments around just the inspiration, the honesty.
Always.
Harry's a good human.
Yeah. We know that.
Excuse me. Absolutely. I mean, Johnny, what happens here? What happens to Johnny? Who's Johnny in 5 years? People say, oh, you need to look around corners, you need to do this. I think they're going to need people on the corner looking for you, around the corner, making sure that you're ready to go because the world's moving so quick. Speed and flexibility, I believe, is the secret to success.
Yep.
I also don't believe anymore that the big kill the small. It's the fast that kill the slow.
I agree.
So what's Johnny looking at? Who's going to be Johnny? Is Johnny going to, because you're a very giving person, right? So are you going to do more of the classes? People love your classes.
Look, I think I'm going to end up doing the classes till I retire because I love educating.
Yes.
So that's, for me, that's a really powerful part.
And you're cooking something. You got something coming up.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it, can I?
I'm always cooking something. Spaghetti.
You've been
pasta.
filming something, doing something, haven't you?
Yeah. Look, we're doing a few things. I've got.
If you can't talk about it, that's fine.
No.
Just tell them.
I can tell. I'm going to tell them. Yeah. But look, I finally put together recorded one of my classes, which is awesome because I didn't know if it was going to work or how it was going to come out, and it came out so great that I want to do a lot more of them now. Yeah. But the educational side of things, that really that sort of gives me that drive. I love that. Right. I love mentoring people within the industry. I always get asked questions. I never not reply to someone, or and if I do, it might take a day or so. But I always get back to somebody because I think if they've taken the time to ask me the question, then I should give back the respect and answer the question.
Absolutely.
But 5 years from now, look, I don't know. I'm really going to concentrate on expanding the business a little bit more. I've got some really good businesses coming up now, some exciting stuff. We're opening in Mornington Peninsula, which is going to be an amazing site. And we've got the market going there, we've got the gelati shop going there, and we've also got the restaurant. So I can't wait for that. It's going to sort of be. I think it's going to be one of our staples of what we're doing. It's going to be like that. Okay, this is another level of what we do. Yeah. We're opening another gelati shop inside Crown. I can't wait for that one.
That'd be fantastic.
I can talk about that because I just signed that up, so we can do it. Yes. So I can't wait for that to happen because I love the gelati side, and we're expanding on the pastry end of it as well. Got a talented pastry chef that's been with me for a long time, and it's sort of given him the opportunity now to,
flourish.
Yeah, so he's been doing the desserts and that. But I look at it, we've done that, and now he's going to be able to now show his true talents, through that. But I don't know, Harry, always, when I get asked this question, I answer it with, my next project is going to be I'm going to open up a Gradi on the moon, or on Mars, and people laugh at that. And as much as I say it in a way that it might never happen, but that's where I'm reaching, right? So I think by answering that probably tells you that sky's the limits. You know, I don't know where I'm going to be. You know, I just hope that I can continue with the passion that I have every day when I get up, you know, loving what I do and seeing things develop. I'm actually enjoying myself now more than I ever was before.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Because I think this sort of closure has made us think outside the square, but it's also brought my family together like even closer than ever, because what's happened is I'm working really close with my wife, and I see my daughter giving me feedback on what's happening and what we can do better. You know, that to me drives me like crazy. It makes me want to do more and more and more and more and more.
That's fantastic. Look,
and you know what? People ask, and I want to talk about this because a lot of people say, Johnny, why do you keep opening up restaurants? Like, aren't you just happy with? It's not about money. It's not about being happy with what I've got. I love creating. That's why I do it. I don't do it because, you know, opening more restaurants, I tell people, the more restaurants you open, the less money you make. So it doesn't, it's not about that. I just love seeing something, you know, come from nothing to what it is.
Yes.
And then, you know, that's...
You know, Johnny, you just said something that's so relevant in what's been happening. It really breaks my heart. It saddens me to hear people say, oh, I'm stuck at home with the kids again. Oh, this and that. And look, and I know everybody's circumstances are different, but what you just said, it brought my family closer. You get to know each other more. You know, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, it doesn't matter. But what happens is you go out as a unit, not part-time husband, part-time wife, part-time parent. You know what I mean? So that's so nice to hear that, you know, that's what it's done for you. And you know what? I expected you to answer that question that way about who's Johnny in 5 years, because Johnny's always moving, always evolving. We're always, whether we're doing a walk and talk, we find things out, we're going to do this, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. One thing for sure, you've always been a person that runs to the fight, not from the fight, you know, and that I admire so much of you for that. And one of the questions I had, this is my question, is who's your inspiration? Who was the person, which, I mean, I know the answer, but I think the public need to know, if you're willing to share, who was your inspiration? Who was your mentor? Who was the man, the woman, whatever it was, that made Johnny be Johnny, you know, in this field?
A dear friend of mine that's not here anymore.
Correct.
You know, and his name's Luigi. And for me, you know, apart from being a mentor within this industry, and, you know, he taught me a lot of things, you know, and, you know, the older generation has always something to offer that you can never think of. It's like us now trying to offer our kids and their and then maybe one day their kids, you know, because I know you probably growing up and think, oh, again, I got to hear this. Yeah. But then as you get older, the words start to ring in your ears, and you think, my God, you know, why didn't I listen? And so he was teaching me things that, you know, I probably wouldn't have learned on my own. But apart from that, he was also, you know, a father figure as well. Like I love that man. He was, for me, he was, you know,
more.
Yeah, he was more than just a friend or a mentor.
Yes.
You know, he was, you know, he's in my heart. He's always in my heart. But yeah, he was the person, you know.
That's fantastic. Good answer. Caroline?
I have one question.
We know that. You're giving us the look.
What advice would you, and you'll need to repeat this because they can't hear me.
Oh, okay.
What advice would you give someone who has created a business that's never been done before?
What advice would you give to someone that's creating a business that's never been done before? Is that the question?
All right, so
that's a great question.
That's a great question. First of all, I'm not sure what business it is, but I can guarantee it's been created in some way, right? So a lot of people think that they're the inventors of something, but there's always someone else out there in the world that has done something. Now, if you can't find the reference point, then and you are the creator of something that really has never been created, you know, you're just going to have to go with your gut feeling now because you don't have a reference point. I always say to people, look, if you want to be the best in your field, find the best, mimic, make it yourself, and work on their mistakes rather than their successes. Like, if, you know, whatever they're not doing well, do it better.
Yeah.
Well, that's... So right. I'm not sure. It's really hard to... You know, try and...
Well, so, you know, you've answered it because what you've said there, Johnny, and this is great for whoever asked the question. I'm not sure who asked the question, but we'll leave it at that. But success leaves clues.
Yeah.
Okay? Success leaves clues. So surely you'll go and pick up somewhere, somehow, whatever you're going to pick up. I think you're giving us another look.
Looking back now, is there anything you would have done differently if you had to start all over again?
So looking back now, would you have done anything differently?
Probably not. I think all my mistakes have made me the person I am today.
Yeah,
And I've made 1,000 mistakes in everything, business, life, everything. But I think if you learn from them, then you become better.
Yeah.
It's like a good bottle of wine, right?
Only gets better.
Yeah.
It's Johnny. I also wanted to do this, and I'm sure you've said it in your own ways. But your wife Maria is a beautiful human being, and she really is your rock. She's behind the scenes, the killer, if you want to call her the killer, respectfully. But she's an amazing human, and it takes a great team to deliver what you deliver. And you've been with Maria for
long time,
for 100 years,
yeah.
And I always say in my speeches, build up an appetite, go home and eat, and you're a true example of that. And you're just an incredible human, and the way you give back and the way you keep pushing forward and you inspire and all the great things you do. For us at Life Worldwide, we would love to send a couple of those young guns that want to spend a little bit of time with you.
Time to come in.
Yeah, and I've talked about the young kid that rang me the other day, and I said, well, he's running the market at the moment. He's thinking big Victoria market. He didn't understand, right? And I said, you'll understand when you get there. And we've had this conversation, but keep inspiring, Johnny. Keep being the person you are. And this is, of course, I'm going to say this without a doubt, and we've been bashed for this forever. We are from Brunswick. We're the original. And Peter, you're watching me from the soundproof room. These are real life struggles. We shouldn't be the people. Now, let me rephrase it. They said that we shouldn't be who we are.
Yeah.
My struggles. We've been on this journey. And one thing for sure, they will never take that away from us, and that is, doesn't matter how bad and much they can bag us, and it really, made us who we are.
I think growing up in Brunswick has made me very resilient.
Resilient is the key word, Johnny.
Right? It really has.
Yes, absolutely. So I know we've got the time Nazis here. We're looking at it. We've got a minute, and I just, based on all this and the amount of messages I had, and I haven't even looked at my phone because we've been into it. It was good that people were just so excited to have you on tonight to hear how this young kid did something amazing. So
I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank
God
you.
bless you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me
for
on.
making the time. Peter Futzel, you've driven down here. You've opened up for us. You put the studio on again. Caroline behind the scenes.
This is the best.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. When I walked in, this is unbelievable.
We've got a lot of things happening. All our events got sold out for Life Worldwide. We had to postpone Lunch and Learn and the Millionaire Millennials and bits and pieces. So we can't wait to come back on you. We've got our mentor program. That's going incredible, actually. So sign up. Love to spend quality time with you. We'll also be doing walk and talk and much, much more. But thank you. God bless you. Have a brilliant night. Share this stuff. Share this amazing human. Take care. Thank you.